Hi there, I'm Darren Howard.
And I'm Robert Nisbet.
We are recording in beautiful downtown Kelowna where it is cold. Yes, indeed.
It's still above freezing, so, some look for global warming.
Yeah, climate change. Come on.
Right.
Facts, okay? Come on,
Right.
don't confuse us here. We're talking about banking and the way to solve things. And the greatest story that's been ignored in the last 3 years, well, last 5 years,
Is what happened in Iceland.
in Iceland, they got fed up with the banks driving everything right into the ground, like they shouldn't be, and they threw bankers into jail. But we have an update on that.
That's right. Four more bankers are due in the Crowbar Hotel.
Check this out.
In Iceland, 4 former bank chiefs have been jailed for fraud. The sentences go as far as 5 years behind bars. They're accused of concealing that a Qatari investor bought a stake in their firm, using cash lent from the bank itself, illegally. The deal took place just ahead of the collapse of the bank due to huge debts. For more insight, let's cross live to economic expert Charlie McGrath, founder of news website Wide Awake News. Thank you for joining us, sir. Now, this is the biggest penalty for such crimes in Iceland's history. Explain why this is so significant.
Well, it's significant in regards to the 2008 crisis, because if you happen to be living here in the United States, where a lot of the majority of these too big to fail institutions are headquartered, where the true culprits are, where they're living, these CEOs and COOs of these massive corporations, these massive too big to fail institutions, not one of them has went to jail. Not one of them has been indicted. There's been a handful of token fines that have been paid by these corporations. And let me reiterate, by the corporations, not by these individuals themselves. So we see an actual government, an actual people, a nation stepping up and saying, I'm sorry, you committed fraud. You screwed over a nation, and you're going to pay for it with your butt being put behind bars. This is exactly what needed to happen in the United States and the rest of the world. It's what needs to happen now. And my hat's off to Iceland for standing up to these bankers. So to pretend that government has no place in overseeing these institutions is to sit back and say, go ahead, bankers, go ahead and take over the future, the financial future of this nation, and lead us into financial ruin. And that's exactly what happened. What happened inside of Iceland is the people demanded of the government in 2009, they marched on Parliament and said, we're not going to take the fraudulent failure of these banks lying down. They cordoned off these institutions. They formed state banks, and they looked at the problem head on, and they helped the people rather than the banking institutions. So going forward, I hope that, again, this is the model that we look at, and government definitely has a place in regulating the financial markets.
Well, imagine that.
Shocking.
Shocking. I'm shocked.
I'm shocked. Bankers going to jail.
Bankers going to jail would be a good thing in Canada. Remember, in 2008, Canada did bail out its banks.
But they didn't tell us that because, the economy was so strong.
Yes, because our banks were like recession-proof, which turned out to be a lie. Canadian, what is it, the Council for Policy Alternatives? Something like that?
Yeah.
They released a report. Make sure you check out some past shows right here at Radio Free Canada. But really, take a look at what Iceland did, because when the 2008 crunch hit, they threw bankers and their prime minister right up in front of the general public to answer for their BS.
That's right.
Now, down in the States, if you take a look at Occupy Wall Street, they gathered together millions of dollars ignored by mainstream media to buy people out of their mortgages.
That's right. They're helping people with student debt and with medical debt.
Yeah, so, they're actually doing something as opposed to our government, which says it's not our responsibility
to look
make
after
sure
the homeless
that
or poverty people.
Yeah, so doing things exactly opposite. In Iceland, though,
they are forgiving homeowners for their mortgages.
Check this out.
Another European country is quickly bouncing back from the crisis. Iceland has now announced a major mortgages write-down scheme to speed up its growth even further. Katie Pilbeam, the host of Venture Capital, now joining me live to discuss this. Good to see you, Katie. Homeowners getting a helping hand.
Yes, makes a change, doesn't it?
Sure
so
does.
the Icelandic government, they're going to inject $1.25 billion to help out people that are really struggling with higher costs of living. So what they're going to do is they're going to inject this money. It's going to be half in mortgage pay downs, another half in tax exemptions. It's going to help 100,000 people, which probably doesn't sound a great deal, but that's actually a third of the population of Iceland. Now, having said this, this is going to be 9% of the total country's GDP, which is 14 billion. So they're really investing into this one. But not everybody's happy about this. Credit rating agencies are advising against this. They're saying austerity is the way forward, as well as the IMF too.
Austerity is the way forward. Gosh, we haven't heard that before, have we, Katie? Is Iceland actually doing something for its people, as opposed to the Eurocrats in Brussels doing everything for the banks?
You know, it's good that you say that, because the OECD, they've actually warned against that. They've said this isn't advisable to be so harsh on the banks.
Gosh.
I know, shock horror.
I suppose Iceland is far enough away, geographically speaking, they can get away with this kind of thing. But perhaps to other European leaders, take note. Don't always do what the IMF wants you to do. Try looking after your people for once.
There we are.
All right, the host of Venture Capital, Katie Pilbeam. Thank you.
Imagine that, a government actually helping the people.
Yeah, using its bank for what it should be used for, as opposed to just making a profit from nowhere. You got to remember that during the Great Depression, there was no reason for the Great Depression. There was no reason for them to foreclose on farms that were being blown away by dust. But what do we got? Well, we have corporate fascist policy that's called the banking system in North America.
That's right.
Now, the one thing that people do not understand about the economy is the fact that the entire economy is made up out of nowhere.
That's right. It's all a big Ponzi scheme.
So, a description for the Ponzi scheme right now, we're just going to describe what fiat lending is, fiat currency, and go over a couple of those facts.
That's right.
Check this out.
This video is sponsored by Gold Resource Corporation.
Once upon a time, we used gold, or paper that represented safely stored gold, as money. It worked well for thousands of years, partly because gold is independent, and partly because it keeps its purchasing power. An ounce of gold buys you as much food, clothing, and energy as it did 50, or 150, or 1,550 years ago. Compare that to modern money, which seems to buy you less and less each year. 100 years ago, when the Federal Reserve Bank was formed, $1 would buy you this much oil. 50 years ago, it bought you this much. Now, it buys you this much. That's not very much, is it? In fact, in the 100 years since the Federal Reserve Bank was formed to protect the currency, the purchasing power of the dollar has fallen by this much. Why did governments stop using gold? In 1914, the British and German governments were committed to various spending programs and World War I, a war that probably needn't have happened, and neither had the money or gold to pay for it. So they took their countries off the gold standard and, free of its restraints, printed the money they needed. In 1971, the American government was committed to various spending programs and Vietnam, a war that probably needn't have happened. And it didn't have the money or gold to pay for it, so it took America off the gold standard and, free of its restraints, printed the money it needed. Sound familiar? If governments didn't have the power to run up deficits, these wars could never have happened. There wasn't the gold to pay for them. The bill is eventually paid by the people through the stealth tax that is currency devaluation by inflation. Now the world operates under a system of money and credit known as fiat. It's the law that what we use as money be money. The government and its banking agencies have the power to issue money, but no one else may do so. Like gold, of which there is a finite amount in the world, with this fiat system, there is no limit to how much money can be created, so inflation becomes inevitable. Look at the mess the UK and Germany got the world into after leaving the gold standard in 1914. World War I, German reparations, Weimar inflation, the rise of Hitler, and so on. Look at the mess the world has got itself into since 1971, when this fiat system became the global norm. An endless sea of wars, debt, poverty, social inequality, economic bubbles, rampant consumerism, and environmental rape. None of which could ever have happened to anything like the same extent with that little bit of discipline and restraint imposed by gold. The ability to issue money is too much power for governments, banks, anybody, however well-intentioned. The best way to stop the abuse of power is to spread it as thinly and widely as possible. That's why we need to get back to a sound system of money. Unlike any bank, any corporation, any government or any body, gold really is independent.
That video was sponsored by Gold Resource Corporation. For more information about our gold mining operations, please visit goldresourcecorp.com.
So don't take our word for it. Fiat lending is a reality. It's the way that they're driving this economy right into the ground. Right now, the Fed is making up $85 billion a month out of nowhere and totally destabilizing the entire Fed currency.
Of course, that money gets loaned out to other banking institutions to gamble with on the commodities market and increase poverty around the world.
So while they increase poverty, we point out the facts that they don't have to, and there's no reason why they should just create money out of nowhere to, buy downtown corner type office buildings and all those wonderful marble countertops that we cannot afford.
So this holiday season, instead of supporting the economy, take care of yourselves, take care of your neighbors, and have peace with yourself.
Have a consumer-free Christmas because that'll make a big difference. And remember, teach your kids, it's not what you have, it's who you are and what you do. I'm Darren Howard.
And I'm Robert Nisbeth.
We've got some great specials coming up, documentaries, so we do want to wish you season's greetings.
Exactly.
Okay?
We must be politically correct.
Yes, we have to be politically correct because you're cheesing off somebody no matter what you say.
So all I can say is peace on earth.
Goodwill towards you. We'll be back.
A lot of people think poverty is a problem for other people in other neighborhoods. But even if you or no one you know is ever affected by poverty, not doing anything about poverty is costing us all. British Columbia has the highest poverty rate in Canada. Not addressing this comes at a price. And this is what it looks like when we do the math. For starters, it costs us $1.2 billion per year to pay for the healthcare costs related to poverty. We've heard a lot lately about how we need to get tough on crime. But some crime could be prevented by reducing poverty, which is linked to crimes of desperation, low literacy rates, and living in unsafe situations. The poverty-related costs of crime in BC add up to $745 million per year. Then, there's the income that the poor might have earned from working, if they had access to better supports and training. Or the income that the working poor could have earned, if their jobs paid better wages. This is also a loss to our economy, to the collective wealth of our society. And it adds up to as much as $7.3 billion per year. Altogether, it works out to between $8 and $9 billion every year. This is a terrible deal. And the worst part of this is that it would cost us between $3 and $4 billion per year to put an effective poverty reduction plan in place. That's less than half of what poverty is costing us now. You don't have to be an economist to see that it costs more to keep people in poverty than it does to fix the problem. It's just simple math. Not for other people in other neighborhoods, but for all of us.